This is the Sourced Podcast, where cold mornings, screaming bull elk, and bent rods turn into legends told. Hosted by Nate Zielinski and brought to you by Jiffy Ice Fishing, we go beyond tags and trophies, into the grind, the heartbreak, and the moments that keep us coming back for more. If it bugles, if it bites, if it lives wild, it's Sourced. Lock in.
All right, welcome to the Source Podcast. I'm your host, Nate Zielinski. This podcast and every podcast proudly brought to you by Jiffy Ice Fishing. We're super excited about today's episode. Today's episode, when we talk about a category, right? Today we're going to be talking in the walleye category, but it's much more than walleye fishing. There are names that they've branded their name and they will be with us for the rest of life, right? There's some anglers from the 80s, the 90s, and today's guest is definitely one of those anglers. I am very honored to bring to the podcast Mr. Isaac Lakich. How are we doing today, Isaac?
I'm doing great, Nate. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited.
Absolutely, man. So I'm excited to have you on here. And this is one of these things, right? I think a lot of times when people watch the podcast, they're like, oh, Nate, is super tight with this guy or knows this guy. Like, we don't really know each other. We had a writer, David Harrison, who put us together and he's like, you guys should talk. And this is like a lot of the relationships that I'm in, right? We share a common concept of hunting. We talk hunting stories, things like that. And, we've never fished together. We've never talked fishing. But I'm excited that you're on here, man. And again, you, I would say, definitely don't know me. I know you from following your career simply for the fact, like I said, right? There are names in the tournament world, in the walleye world, I should say, that once you've branded it, man, it's yours. And it's pretty cool to know that you have branded an era, right? The current era of walleye fishing to where you're a name, man, that's going to be written down in history as just a top pro. So it's cool, man. Again, it's one of those things that, my tournament days were in like 2006 to 12. I've moved on from it, and man, you're in the heart of yours, and you made a much bigger name than I made in my tournament days. So it's exciting, man. So thanks for being on.
I appreciate that. A lot of kind words there. Yeah. I mean, we don't really know each other, so this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be kind of most of the podcasts I've done in the past, I kind of know people, so getting to know you over the next hour or so is gonna should be interesting.
No.
Get to kind of pick each other's brains a little bit. I mean, I've followed you a little bit on social media and stuff like that as well. So it's not like I'm totally oblivious to who you are by any means. But yeah, no, I definitely appreciate the kind gestures and all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely, man, for sure. So this podcast is going to air in like April of this year. We'll be in like the heart of like spring walleye for like our core following.
Sure.
So I have some very walleye specific questions for you, but I don't want to ask them yet. I want people to get to know you, know us, kind of that kind of thing. So I have a handful of questions that I'm going to ask you, and I didn't give these to you beforehand because I want them to be like raw and honest. Back in the day,
even better.
That's it. We used to give people questions and like they'd tell me their answer. And it was awesome. Then we record the podcast and they were terrible because they had time to think about it. And I'm like, dude, I don't want you to think about it. Exactly. Yeah. So, all right.
I like it.
Fishing and hunting, right? So that's how we started our conversation because David was like, you guys hunt, you guys should talk. Hunting, fishing, right? You're a pro walleye angler, winning some huge events in your past. Right now, let's just say a 375-inch bull elk or winning a championship. What are you picking?
Geez. I'll take the bull elk. I mean, I've won a bunch of shit, so I've been chasing big bulls, and dude, like you're bringing up nightmare stories,
right?
The first bull I ever had in archery range was like a 350 class bull. And I was 18 years old, and I screwed it up.
Yep.
Like royally. So yeah, I'll take that 375 payback bull all day long.
I love it. And like literally, that's the first time you heard that question, but I knew that's what you go. And I love that because the guys that picked the tournament, like they script the whole podcast out of that. They're all like, oh, I got to do this, got to focus on the career, dude. You're a real guy, and that's why I wanted to ask that question.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like I don't think either one's easier to accomplish by any means. But like. For me now, like I just have so little time that I actually get to go and chase animals hunting for myself. I do some of the guiding for elk and deer, but like I don't get to go and chase them every day like I do for 6 months out of the year with walleyes and stuff like that. So yeah, like that's in my world, like it's kind of a no brainer. And partially too, like, I mean, you just don't get to hunt that much.
You don't,
right? Like,
I mean,
like 90 days a year, maybe.
Yep. That's it. And not that like the fishing's easy, right? Don't get me wrong, but
No.
our fisheries are more available, right? We have more available fishing time and just waters, right? Like our walleye population is thriving nationwide, as to where on the hunting side, right, between land access, big bulls, predator, right? The hunting is limited and limiting and trending in that direction. That's where the fishing's more available. So I'm 100% with you on that.
You're gonna put some effort in to kill a big bull. Like I mean, I'll say this, like if I wanted to like set my goal of like this fall, say I draw a bull tag and I wanted to go kill 370 bull or better, I'm going to invest way more time and energy into that bull than I would on a tournament. I'll put, well, and I don't know. That's hard to put a thing on because, right? Because like tournaments is like years of experience paying off at a certain date. So yeah, no, I tell people all the time, like, I mean, if I could quit fishing, this sounds crazy coming from me, but like, I mean, if I could hunt bull elk 365 days a year, I wouldn't ever fish again. Like, if it was the third week of September all year round, like you'd never find me in a boat. Like I'd be chasing bulls up and down mountains every day. Like
the only year that I qualified for a bigger championship in my tournament days, way back when, was on a year that I drew my most premium elk tag, and I made the decision, and it honestly, it kind of, I don't want to say crushed my career, but it slowed down my tournament career because the partners were expecting it, and I gave up a championship seat to chase a bull tag because I'm with you. So no,
I mean it's like I'd be sitting probably in a very similar position. You got a limited 9-day hunt and 6 of them are gone to a fishing tournament. Oh man, that's tough.
It's brutal. It's
really tough. Like, oh, that would hurt.
All right, so tournament career, right? You've done it all, right? You have the trophies, the titles, right? We don't have to go into it, but of all the fishing concepts, what is one skill that has led to more success in your fishing career? Is it electronics? Is it running a jig rod, right? Pick a skill set, reading the water. I want to know in your brain, what are you better at when on the water than other anglers that have led to those titles and the success?
Simple and easy on that one. Boat control.
Okay.
That's the most underrated, under talked about aspect of tournament success is boat control. If you can't like consciously know like what that boat is doing and how it's affecting spots and all that kind of stuff, like you're at a disadvantage. Like the best guys in the industry right now, especially with the like new technology and stuff with forward facing sonar, it's all about being able to control your boat and have total control of the exposure of the boat to the environment that you're in. That's a big thing because with new technology, we've learned a lot about fish behavior and the boat's impact on a particular fishing spot is a lot more than I think we ever thought it was. So that's a huge deal. I think that's the biggest thing. And that just comes from experience. I mean, my dad put me on a trolling motor running the boat when I was, 6, 7 years old. So lifetime of just running the boat and just like understanding how to set up on a spot and properly, I see this mistake all the time is guys will fish like through an area and then they'll drive with their big motor right back over the top of it. And you're just like
running over their fish.
Dude, what the hell? So that's probably, I think that's where I excelled the best over a lot of people is just like, I'm just very comfortable with the boat. I know what the boat's doing at I can be looking down at my hands while I'm retying and I know which way the boat's going, all that. Like, just a very I think that comes from my hunting background is just very situationally and locationally aware of where I am, what I'm doing, and then, I know how to read a map, right? So that
no. I couldn't agree more. And we had a podcast where we were talking about the guiding aspect of fishing. And that's what I said. I said that the biggest concept for me that I never will give up in my career is guiding. Whether I guide one day a week or one day a year, I don't think I'll ever give up guiding in my career, even though guiding used to be my biggest thing for revenue or income. Now I wouldn't even call myself a fishing guide because I don't do it as much as I used to, but I'll never give it up for that exact reason. And I'm glad you said that because like, you ask ask 10 anglers, 9 out of 10 anglers are going to say forward-facing sonar or jig, or everybody has a different concept. When in reality, I think boat control catches more fish than anything. So, and you and I haven't talked about this, but it's the truth. I mean, and it's everything, right? From not spooking fish to having the right presentation. And I'll talk to people when I guide, hey, here's how we're going to approach. I'm like, why are you explaining this to me? I'm like, dude, you can take that exact bait, the one that the fish want, and if it's not approaching the fish at the way a natural bait fish would move or the right situation, you're pulling it over the fish's head where they have to chase it. I'm like, if you don't make it easy on the fish and you don't present it right, you're not going to catch them. Or you'll catch the little one, not the big one, or you'll catch 3 instead of 10, whatever. And that's where I think boat control is absolutely. Boat control catches more fish than anything.
Right. Like it's like that underlying factor, right? Like you have your cadence with your jig stick, you have your ability to use forward facing sonar and all that stuff. But if you don't put the boat where it needs to be first, right? Like if that's not where it needs to be, all those other pieces don't fall into place. Like that's like the number one, like, okay, like put this where it needs to go. And then all the other pieces fall in line behind it. Right. Like I think that, in the industry, we've kind of lost sight of that. Like everyone wants to put on forward-facing sonar nowadays, right? Like, forward-facing sonar is the most important part. Well, okay, look at the pro level circuits, and there's 10 guys that everyone has it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like, pros, every single guy has forward-facing sonar, but 10 guys are utilizing it at an exasperated and better rate than these other people, and it's because they're mainly, in my eyes, from what I can see and perceive, it's like they're just handling the whole concept of it. It's not that they're just taking forward facing sonar and using it to the max potential. Like they're already like putting their boats in positions to catch fish.
Yep.
And now they're using forward facing sonar to just shortcut the amount of time that it takes to catch them.
Yep.
Like those same guys, you take forward facing sonar out of their boat and they're still going to go in those spots and catch fish because they're still doing the right things leading up to using it. Like,
absolutely. It's funny. So I had a new hire and I was training a new guide. This was 2 years ago, and we were pulling planer boards for big pike, right? So we're on a flat, wind blown. So it's like a 30, 40 mile an hour wind. We had to hold our baits at like 1.5 to 1.7 miles an hour, hold them in the zone. And the way that the flat kind of curved versus the wind, it was like a disaster, right? We're coming off the waves at a 45 speed. One side of the boat's fast. So we set up on it, and I'll never forget it, right? So I have a tiller kicker, so my kicker is in gear but pointed hard like I'm doing a right-hand turn. My big engine was canted a little bit, and it's just in gear but not running. And then I have one drift sock out and an electric motor, right? Like I have so much going, and this dude is looking at me, who is a great fisherman. He's like, what are we doing? And I'm like, hey man, we can't have a fast side and a slow side. I'm like, our speed has to, we're pulling a heavy rubber swim bait, right? So it's not a neutral buoyant bait. Like we go slow, it sinks. You go fast, it rises. I'm like, everything has to be perfect. And we're coming off 2.5 footers, and we did this and whacked fish. And this guy was like, I've never seen anything like that, and we had an epic day, and we had clients with us. He was just kind of sitting in watching, and I'm like, hey man, I think that was a day that it was normal for me, but I could watch a phenomenal angler's lights come on of like, wow, boat control is important. Because I was like, you carry multiple drift socks. He goes, I don't have a drift sock, let alone multiple sizes. And I'm like, ooh. And he goes, I run my kicker with my big engine. I'm like, oh, you can't do that. I'm like, you got to be able to separate and move stuff around. And he was just like, holy cow. So with that said, since we're on this topic, walk me through your boat, right? Boat control is key. What are you running? What's a day? What do you have tool-wise to set up for boat control?
So I've been running the last 5 years. I've been in a 2090 tiller. So I run a big tiller boat.
Yep.
I've typically over the past couple of years, I have 2 power poles on the back with drift paddles.
Okay.
I run a 112-pound Ultrex on the front. And then this last year, I actually downgraded I like went sideways with graphs. So
Okay.
I used to run 212. I'd run a 12 on the front and a 9, right? So my 12 was like my primary graph, and then my 9 was my just mapping. And now what I did is I went to just a single 16 on the front and then a single 16 on the back. So I'm pretty light on electronics. Excuse me. Pretty light on electronics compared. To most all the rest of the pros. But yeah, like that's set up. So the tiller gives me a couple different, I think advantages. First and foremost, when it comes to boat control, I'm not catching wind like a taller, wider boat with consoles. So I have a little bit easier time controlling the boat in, windy conditions. The power poles, I think, are extremely valuable with the drift paddles, because when you listen to guys talk about live scoping, and especially most of the pros, I go against the grain with how almost every other guy that is going to talk in a seminar talks about fishing. So almost everyone else is going to talk about going into the wind when they're live scoping. And I almost never go into the wind. It is very rare. The only time I ever turn and like go into the wind is if I'm like actively chasing a big one. And I'm trying to stay with it. And even then, that's pretty rare, because I've kind of taken live scoping to the extreme of like, I really don't give fish more than like one opportunity at a bait. Like if I get a bait next to a fish and it doesn't eat it, I just move to the next fish. But yeah, those paddles on the power poles, and now guys are putting crappie brakes, they call them, power brakes, where it's basically 2 trolling motors on their power poles that they can then like back the boat up. But I don't like that. Like it's actually pretty crazy. So I drift fish. I'm a drift fisherman. So I set up upwind to where I want to fish. I drift through the hot zone that I think's, the best spot. And then I kind of motor back way out and around the spot and come back through it again drifting. And I think it gives me a couple of advantages. One, I'm not disrupting the spot with the boat other than the like sight of the boat as it goes by. I run my trolling motor at a minimum. I'm not running those brakes on the back end, so I'm not adding noise and disruption into the water that way. And I think that just gives me a big advantage. The other thing that it forces me into doing is moving faster and like targeting not necessarily more fish,
but fresh fish.
Like say there's 100 fish on a spot and they're scattered out on it. Like as opposed to sitting on 10 of those fish and just pounding their brains in until they bite. Like I'll put it at those 10 and the next 10 and the next 10 and the next 10, and then I work backwards and I end up on that first 10 again. So I think that's a huge thing with like forward facing technology, like especially in open water scenarios, is you see guys like they find a pot of fish and they'll just sit on them all day. And that's like the opposite of how I fish. Like I'm literally like, I pull up on that pot, I cast at them like one time. If I don't crack a fish out of there in 1 or 2 casts, like, okay, screw this pot, I'm on to the next. Like
I love that.
I'm a very aggressive fisherman. Like I'm aggressive with the like approach, but then like I like fishing finesse tactics more than I like aggressive tactics. I just think of like an aggressive fish that's going to hit an aggressive tactic is also going to eat a finesse tactic, but a fish that is a fish that would only eat the finesse tactic won't eat the
Yep. No, I agree 100%. And I have kind of the same approach, and mine was developed from guiding, right? So when you have 4 or 5 clients in your boat, you're not going to put those people on the bow of your boat. So I was kind of naturally always fishing above the fish just because the back of your boat's bigger. I can spread out 4 guys. So like
I fish the back end.
So I developed my skills as a young angler just fishing off the bow. And it's funny, every year I order a boat, and most years, like, I'll maybe put a graph on the bow, and they're always like, hey man, why is everything wired to the back of your boat? And I'm like, you don't fish on the bow. And like, I have these conversations with boat riggers, and they're like, dude, this is opposite of everybody else. I'm like, I don't want to be on the bow, right? I'm not going to chase them. I don't want awkward casts. I want to really like have the ability to fine tune everything. So I love that you say that. And I agree 100%. I'm a reactionary fisherman. I do a lot of reaction baits for a while. I've been in the West. We have a ton of bait fish, but you said it best. When you have a fish that only wants that mellow spoon-fed bite, they won't react on a bait. If you have reaction fish, they eat both. So the ability to approach it that way, and how many times I watch anglers fish a reactionary bait on fish that don't want it and blow them out is pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing that I was noticing, like because I've had live scope now and I've been running forward-facing technology since like 18. End of 2018 was when I first like touched it and played with it. So, I mean, we're closing in on almost 10 years, this is like 8 years of having it. And like, what we recognize right away is like, aggressive baits, like, you get good aggressive bites and they're fun.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love it when a walleye crushes something that's being snap jigged, like whatever it is, your big paddle tail on a heavy jig head or a spoon or a glide bait of some sort. Like all those are awesome ways to get, some really fun, aggressive bites. But the problem is like when you weren't catching those fish, like those fish are just, like you said, spooking and getting out of them. Because what minnow in their right mind is flying through the water 3 feet at a rip? Like that's just so unnatural. Like in the world of fish, like. So I've always kind of, now as I've used it more, I lean way more finessey, way more jig plastic, jigging a live bait. I love a good slip bobber bite. Like I love slip bobber, especially with clients. Fishing slip bobbers with clients is super easy for me because it's like, hey, cast over there. Okay, that guy missed. Cast the next bobber 20 feet to the left. Okay, that guy's on the pod. Now reel yours in and cast right next to him, and you can get, everyone in the boat can be on a group of fish pretty quick. It's been, a learning curve with all of it. Like, and that's the cool thing about fishing. I think that you just like are constantly learning something new all the time.
Nope. I love it. So, but I agree, man, of all the skill sets, I think boat control is it. And I think the more we age with all the sport, everything's going to technology. And I think that the old school guys, that's where it's a hot topic in the bass world, but the old school guys are struggling with the technology, but they have the boat control. The young guys that have the technology maybe don't have the boat control because they haven't had to, because they've had technology to help them a little bit. So they vision the approach a little better. The angler that has both leads you to where you're at with titles and championships
That's why you're seeing like across both. Yeah, there's a ton of these young kids that are coming up that are kicking everyone's butt. Don't get me wrong. A lot of young guys. I mean, Fisher and I just won the Bassmaster Elite, a couple weeks ago. Pake South or whatever. Yeah. That kid, he won the Open. Like, you got a bunch of young kids winning stuff, absolutely. But the guys that are still being the most consistent are like right around my age, or it's like that 28 to 35-year-olds. Like, we have kind of the bridge. We're the bridge.
100%.
Like, we're the guys that, like, I grew up, I fished out of a boat with no graph on it. Like, we used to drive around and, like, my fish locator was named Grandpa, and he would freaking point from tree to tree and line us up. Like, so, it's been interesting to see the evolution of it, and it's going to just keep evolving.
I mean, that's it. But the angler that can do both is going to put more fish in the boat, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And recognize when to, like, switch it on and off. Like, when because I've gotten in, like, for us, the big difference with walleye and bass guys is, like, the bass guys don't have to fish the rivers as much. Like, they do a little bit, but they're not fishing, like, crazy heavy flow current at the rates that we do with walleye fishing, especially in the spring. So that's a time frame where it's like, that's tough. Like, you got to know how to – you still got to know how to fish in the spring, because that's my biggest weak point as an angler. I suck at spring fishing. Like, I'm terrible.
First time I got on the Detroit River, and I look at my graph as I'm drifting. I'm like, we're going 4 miles an hour. I'm like, what am I supposed to do here? It's crazy. If you don't grow up with that kind of thing, it's
you have no idea how to handle it.
No.
I remember that too. The first time we went to Detroit, it's like, what do you mean we're using 1.5 ounce jigs? I've been vertical jigging in the Wolf River in Wisconsin my whole life, and the heaviest I've ever touched is 3/8.
Yes,
like,
exactly.
Ever. And that's like the river's blown out. We just got 8 inches of rain.
Yeah.
Like, I grew up jigging 1/4 ounce jigs all the time, and now you're telling me I got to put 1.5 ounce of lead on? Like,
that's it. You're getting snagged. Your line's not straight. I'm like, dude, it's straight. They're like, no, it's not. You know what I mean?
And you're like looking at the freaking, like, dude, I remember the first time I rigged a plastic on 1.5 ounce jig, and I looked at it, I was like, what kind of fish is going to eat this? This looks so unnatural. Like, kind of bloated head ass.
Yes.
Like,
a lot of super glue involved. Just terrible.
Yeah, like just this gob of junk, and they they crush it. But that's I mean, that's Erie fish for you.
I mean, that's it for sure. So, all right. So, talking about boat control, let's lead to the next one. In your days, right? Guiding, tournaments, whatever. What's the craziest day on the water? Gnarly waves, a big wind. Just what sticks out of your head as some of the most unique, crazy days?
I mean, I've had some wild ones, making giant big runs. I've had crazy close calls and scary experiences.
What's your furthest run?
Well, I just won the Alpina event last year, and that was like somewhere between 95 and 100 miles one way.
Yep.
So it was round trip, like pushing 200 round trip, I would say, give or take a little bit. That's the biggest I've ever like attempted. And it was, wild and crazy and unnecessary. But
you got the win. I mean,
like it paid off. But looking back on it, it's like, oh my god, like so many things had to go right for that to happen. So any of the big run events for us in tournaments is always super intimidating. There's just so many variables and so much that has to go right for it to actually like work out and for you to get back on time and all that stuff. So those ones are always wild.
It's fun. So being a Western angler, right? Obviously, I'm from Colorado. We have a huge following just because it's local, right? And then we obviously do national stuff. But it's fun for the Western guy to hear those stories because, right, like the biggest body of water I guide on. If I run from one end to the complete other, I can go 7 miles. But I would say my average run is like 3/4 of a mile, right? So then you talk to guys running 90, 100 miles type thing, and I ran. I remember
Great Lakes fishing.
I mean, that's it. My first like hardcore year of tournaments was 2006, and running like early Gen 1s of the Mercury Verado, like they drank so much fuel. Like when you were running out of like Elizabeth Park or somewhere in Detroit and you were running, to the backside of Kelly's or something like that, like you didn't have enough fuel. Like our boats weren't built for those big runs in those earlier days. And like, I remember coming back in like sputtering. You're like, you're on bow mount dropping your fish.
so that one was wild, but like I had 2 fuel stops in that tournament because of where fuel was. I was forced into it, right? Like I had to do 2 fuel stops. There was no way to run it without it. And so that was like difficult in itself.
So you got to time it,
like just timing it right. I went to Green Bay for the championship this last year, and I made like a 75-mile one-way trip, and I did it without stopping for fuel, gambling hard. Like I was like, I think I can do it because I was running slow. Like I wasn't full throttle. I couldn't go full throttle. It was too rough. But I'm like making this run, and I'm just like, oh man, this is like, I'm like coming in, and my gas tank had said E for like 15, 20 miles already, and I'm like, oh my Lord, like this is. So like you said, like I'm going to put it on the trailer, and it's like
that's it,
sputtering. And it's like it's wild. It's crazy the evolution of like how boat technology has pushed us to push the limits now too. Like because 20 years ago, I think no one was thinking about making anything close to these types of runs. Like it just wasn't a thing. Like if you couldn't find fish within 40, 50 miles, like you just didn't even try. Like you couldn't. You didn't think about it. The boats weren't fast enough, like all of it. And now it's like all these big bodies of water we go to. And we fish, this year on the National Walleye Tour, we're fishing the Great Lakes 3 times, Oahe and Sakakawea. I mean, that's the, 3 of the biggest
big runs.
3 of the biggest Great Lake bodies you're going to fish, Erie and Green Bay twice. And followed up with Oahe and Sakakawea, which are like the 2 biggest reservoirs in the country. So like it's definitely like a more and more common thing in my life now, I think, than what guys were dealing with 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago when equipment just wasn't taking you there. So it's interesting to to see how it's kind of progressed.
That's it. It's funny because to me, it's like my tournament days were like, recent. But when I'm looking back at 2006, I mean, we're 20 years ago, like you said. I remember when I was talking to, and it was actually Tommy Scarless, that we were at the same hotel together, and he's like, hey, and he was going through his boat, taking stuff out. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes, dude, we got to lighten up. Like, we're going to run out of fuel. And I'm like, what? And I didn't even, it was so out of my realm, not fishing the Great Lakes, not ever making a big run. And he's like, are you going to have enough fuel? And I'm like, well, I don't know. You know what I mean? And he's like, dude, if you don't need it, get the cranks. He goes, everything. He goes, like, every pound is going to help you go faster and further. And
when I went to Alpena, it was insane. Like, I had, so in my boat for Alpena, it was me, my co-angler, 4 bottles of water, 4 containers of night crawlers, 4 rods. Like, I had the 4s going.
Oh,
like,
yeah?
It was like 4 of this, 4 of that, 3 tackle boxes. I lightened up. I had 1 set of pliers. Like,
That's it.
Like, all my cull clips came out. The only thing I had was my scale. Like, I was down to bare bones. Like, it was 2 life jackets, or maybe a couple more life jackets than that, just for safety. But like, and they don't weigh much. But like,
strip it. Like, I never
take me a trolling motor battery boat. Out. I would have been bolted everything on that thing.
That's it.
Yeah,
I mean, I remember stripping my boat after talking to Tommy, and I'm just like, I didn't even think about it, and it was a must. And I, like, thank goodness I did, because I mean, I literally ran out of gas weighing fish, and I was just like, holy cow, that would have been a disaster. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy how much when you do like have a full tournament load, like you don't realize how much stuff it really is. Like when your boat's fully loaded to the gills with every ounce of everything you possibly need for the day. I mean, you're talking about 300-400 pounds worth of
or more, it's crazy.
Yeah. And especially when it's on the front end of the boat, the way that affects your speed and pushing the nose down and keeping more boat in the water. Like I run full tournament load in my boat right now. I got 250 on the back of mine, and full tournament load, I'll push like 54, 55 miles an hour. It's kind of like my top end. And when I pulled everything out, I would gain 3 miles an hour. 58 miles an hour. It was, dude, that boat felt so light. Like, it's like, just scooting across the top of everything. Like, yeah.
That's awesome. I love it. That's cool. All right, so talking big water, big runs, might as well talk about it. What's your scariest day on the water? Walk me through the gnarliest water you've been on. Where's it at?
So, I mean, I've been in some nasty, nasty big waves and a handful of different times. I had a day on Green Bay. This was 10 years ago now, probably, where I was in my 18-foot crestliner, and we went out, and we were in literally like 10-footers, like in this 18-foot boat. Like, no, giant rollers, like they're super spaced out, but like you couldn't go very fast. That day was crazy. I had another night, probably the scariest, like, where I was scared for the longest. Like, I've had some pretty wild, like, boating accidents and shit that happened in my life, but those all happen so fast. You have no time to, like, think about it.
Yeah.
Like, so those are scary experiences, like, looking back at them, but, like, in the moment, scared. I was fishing Chambers Island on Green Bay in my crestliner, and we were fishing the north side of the island, and we had this south wind blowing, and we were fishing it for, like, all evening, and the bite was just getting better and better the closer to dark we got. And we were 20 years old at the time and not thinking, and we're fishing and crushing fish as it's like getting dark. And now it's like, but the wind's still building. And all of a sudden it's like, all right, we got to go. I got like 20 minutes of daylight left. And I came around the corner to like head south because I launched out of Marinette, and Marinette to Chambers is like a, 14, 15 mile run. Yeah. And I came around that corner, and instantly we went, oh, fuck, we're in trouble. Like, because it's like 6s and 7s. And I, like, in hindsight, I should have just went back to the island and slept in the boat.
Yep.
But we're like, oh, we're going to just, like, we'll just putt our way in. Well, now you're in the dark in 6 and 7 foot waves. You can't see anything. Like, I'm just white knuckling this steering wheel. I hope my mom never listens to this, but like just terrified. And it took us, I mean, it was 15 miles and it took us like almost 4 hours.
Oh,
like,
yeah. And you can't see anything, just water coming in.
I'm just watching the freaking graph. Like, just like, thank God the motor kept going. Like, anything would have happened, we would have been dead. Like, so that was like, I was scared. Like, that was scary. I mean, I've been on the water a couple times with like lightning coming over the top too, where it's like, that's always freaky when your line starts floating or you start getting trapped by the rod. Like, that's never fun.
Yeah.
So, yeah, too many to count.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I mean, like, so here's this misconception with outdoor industry is like that it's always fun, it's always enjoyable, and it's always a blast. Like, there's 5-6 days a year where I hate it. Like, I just absolutely hate being on the water. Like, it's either cold or it's wavy or it's like downright dangerous. And you're like, with the way that I am competitively, like I push the limits more than I should. Like, no,
that's funny. Bobby Blosser was kind of in my era when we were fishing that. He used to always force me to go fish the gnarly, and I'm like, dude, I don't want to go. And he goes, hey man, if this happens tournament day, like you've never seen this, like go figure it out today when you can go for an hour and come home. And so he really pushed me to like learn how to deal with it, and it's crazy. And I mean, my biggest water was always on Erie, but my probably scariest was on Green Bay. I had a bite on Gano's Reef, and I was like not paying attention and big waves, and I was inside and I had to leave, and there's that sandbar, and I'm approaching it and I'm like, man, that looks shallow. And it was like a foot deep, at the bottom of the trough. And I'm like, I got to time it. And I had to time coming at the wave. So I had to go into the timing. So I did this launch, I mean, just gnarly. And I mean, I jacked up a motor there, and then I tried to run from like Green Bay all the way up through Sturgeon and go around up to like the boot on Bay de Noc. And I was like, I can pull this off. And I had never seen that like current seam up there. And that's the first time I ever turned around.
On the north end of Door County and stuff. Like,
I chickened out. It's the first time I ever I got up there and I'm like, this is why ships used to sink here. And that's the only time I ever turned around.
That's what's crazy. Is like we run around on the Great Lakes all the time in these 20, 21-foot boats, and the Great Lakes sinks like 300-foot freighters all the time. Like every year a big ship goes down. Maybe not every year anymore,
but it happens.
50 years ago, it was sinking big ships all the time. Like, the only reason that doesn't happen more often now is because we all have good weather apps.
And that's it.
The boats get off the water when that happens. But, big water will kill you. Like, I mean,
it's gnarly.
I've been on the lake. I was on Green Bay. Was that last year? Yeah, last year when father and his two kids died that night. Like, they were in a sailboat, and this big front comes through and just
kicks gnarly.
Oh, dude, like we looked up and I was like, dude, we got to go.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a young father with two young kids ended up drowning that night.
I believe it. Green Bay was always my biggest struggle back when I was turn fishing, simply because the waves seemed tighter, right? Erie, I always had these big rollers, and boy, you get in Green Bay, and I'm like, I can handle that. And I'm like, why are they so close together? Like,
3-footers out there sucks.
Oh, it's awful.
Like 3-footers on Erie's nothing.
Yep.
They're 25 feet apart.
Yep.
Like, it's these big, long waves. But yeah, Green Bay, and then the other one that's just unbelievably nasty, like in terms of just like breaking boats and stuff, is Winnebago.
I hate Winnebago
because it's shallow. Mille Lacs is the same too. Mille Lacs is nasty.
I spent some time guiding on Mille Lacs, but boy, Winnebago, that's we don't even need to talk about it. I hate Winnebago so much.
That is a love-hate relationship, and it pretty much loves to hate people.
Yep. So. All right, so another question for you as we continue on. We're talking forward-facing sonar. We're talking all this kind of stuff. Right now, you have to pick one beam. 2D sonar, down imaging, side imaging, or forward-facing. If you can only pick one sonar beam for this coming season, what do you think?
Yeah, I'd be forward.
Okay.
You don't have a choice. Like,
yep.
When it comes to actively targeting fish, like in the moment, that's where you're making your money.
Yep.
The other stuff's really important too. I mean, obviously, like I still use my 2D when I'm running around driving and covering water fast with the big motor. I've got my side imaging transducer set up pretty well too for graphing at
Yeah.
speed. I can't see definition with it, but I can see, transition lines,
Yeah.
where rock and sand meet and stuff like that. So I still utilize my other stuff quite a bit, like in the preemptive of fishing, but
Yep.
like once you're fishing, it's all
Yeah.
forward fishing
No,
stuff.
I agree with you for it. I'm still such a huge side imaging fan. I absolutely love it. But I think a lot of that comes from my guiding aspect. It's so easy for me just to pull up, not drop a pole in, and just like I can spin the boat and instantly I'm like, we're staying or we're going. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's where I'm such a side guy.
That's where and that's important. So that's the misconception of like everyone that's like, oh, forward is dominate. Like, no, the guys who are using forward facing were really good at the side imaging and the 2D and all that. Like all of us that have graduated into forward sonar started with all the other stuff and understood that stuff, and we utilized that to the maximum potential because it's like 15 years ago, like when I first started fishing, like that's how I caught all my fish was just side imaging. Like it was literally we just idle around with side imaging until we marked the pod and then cast at the pod. I mean, we were using it in real time, just the same as we were using forward.
I mean, that's it. Same.
We weren't watching fish actively eat baits necessarily, but you were still like utilizing it in the moment. Like you were, consistently using it to find those fish. Like, and now, forward shortcuts it. Like once you find that spot or find that pot of fish or your side or your 2D or whatever, now it's, okay, now I can like target them.
Yeah. And I think it probably helps too with decision making. That's the biggest thing for me with forward on like selecting a beam. When I had side imaging, if I cast it to them and didn't catch them, I was like, I probably wasn't close enough. They probably didn't see it. As for now with forward, I'm just like, he saw it and didn't take it. Move on, change baits, change cadence, whatever. So I guess it helps with my decision making. So, all right, now when we started, I promised people would talk some walleye. The question is, as we approach spring, this is more coming from my Western side. The Western angler struggles fishing a suspended fish with a crank, right? Whether it's a jerkbait, a stick bait, it doesn't matter. The Western angler struggles with the most because we're so structure driven. Our man-made reservoirs are so structure heavy that we can get by almost all year structure fishing, right? So anglers are drawn to structure and that's how they fish. In this March, April, and early May time period, we have phenomenal suspended bites and anglers don't cover it. So looking at all of it, right? You're a Great Lakes guy. It's all suspended bait. So when we talk about approaching a suspended walleye, I want you to walk us through in your brain what's going through your head, right? You have a fish 10, 20 foot down. You got to approach a bait. Walk me through the ideal setup, especially now that forward is so involved, since that's kind of something that we're talking about. So just walk me through approaching a suspended fish right now today in your head.
Yeah, so like if I'm approaching like a pre-spawn fish that's suspended, first and foremost, like slow is the ticket, right? Like whether I'm going to pitch something at them that I'm going to try to take that fish to bottom with, like, because that's something that like a lot of people don't realize. I mean, you can get a fish that's up high to go to bottom with baits. And other times, like me personally, I like trying to work fish up more often than not. So I rely and really utilize jerk baits in the spring a lot. Like that's probably one of my favorite spring tactics, especially post spawn. Pre spawn, they'll eat it, but they're more finicky with it in the pre spawn time frame. It seems like pre spawn big, especially big like females, they really almost exclusively orient to bottom. And I don't know if that's because there's like a certain percentage of winter die off where those fish, like, even though they're suspended, like it seems like those fish that suspend don't necessarily like feed, like they'll just sit there and like, but if you take a bait over the top of them and kind of like drop it down to bottom, sometimes those fish will go down and then like suck it off the bottom if it's barely moving then. So a lot of it for me, like early, is just like playing with baits, playing with cadences, seeing, how aggressive are the fish, because day to day in the spring, it's so different. Your weather patterns in the spring are so fluctuating. So like what works today won't work tomorrow. So I'm way more versatile in my spring arsenal where I'm pitching a lot of different stuff. And then like a big one is like my weight of like, especially if I'm fishing a jig, So if I'm pitching a jerkbait, it's maybe color based, right?
Okay.
I'll kind of rewind here a little bit. So if I'm pitching jerkbaits, I'm looking for color patterns,
Okay.
right? Like, okay, what are these fish eating? Is it perch? Is it schmelz? Is it shiners? What do they want color wise? Because that'll be kind of the dictator on a jerkbait bite, typically for me. And then second on a jerkbait bite is going to be like the duration of your pauses and stuff like that. Like, okay, do they want a bait, kind of consistently cadenced? Do they want it just steady retrieved? Like, what's the cadence?
Yep.
That's a big one for jerkbait fishing. And if I'm not getting my jerkbait, then I'll go to a jig. And now the jig for me, like whether it's, a hair jig or a plastic or anything, it's all about the weight, right?
Yep.
Like, do they want it 1/4 ounce? Do they want it 3/16, 1/8, 16, 32nd? Like, I think a very vastly underrated aspect of like jig fishing is like the weight of the jig makes a big difference. And people don't realize that like a 1/16 of an ounce one way or the other is like huge. Like, I mean, like, everyone's, most guys are fishing 1/8, 1/4, 3/8, halves, like, right? Like they kind of jump the 1/8 up. And I love the offside. I love 3/16, 5/16, like, because I think it's just a little different, right? Like you and I both rig a 3-inch paddle tail, you rig it on a 1/4 and I rig it on 3/16. Like, I can cast it just about as good as you, but my bait's falling at, this little particularly just smaller rate, right?
Holds like, you in a zone a hair longer, just that split second.
Just a little bit, right? Like, it's not wild. Like, and that's like fishing in general. Like, even when it comes back to jerkbaits, like, I mean, dude, like the one day, like, my buddy's throwing a P10 Smithwick, and I grabbed an Elite 8. And like, when you put the two next to each other, really, like, and look at them, it's like, they're not that much different in size. Like, they're just not. But like, he's been throwing a Fire Tiger freaking jerkbait or stick bait. All freaking. This is a night bite thing, but like, he's throwing it all night, and he's caught a couple, but not that many. And I grabbed a Fire Tiger stick bait in just a slightly smaller size, and I went like every cast for 30 casts in a row, like. Where it was just like, oh, well, yeah, they really want, whether it was the wobble or the sound.
Like, slightly depth, whatever.
Yeah, spring fish, like, dude, I hate spring fishing for the reason of, like, I destroy my boat every day I go. Because it's literally, like, it's a constant game of, like, relearning every day exactly what they want, exactly the size they want. So it's like, I have 40 jigs out, 20 different cranks, and, like, I mean, the suspended stuff, like, I like to work above them first. Like, I'll always try to work a jerkbait above them, or I'll swim like a plastic over the top of them. Like, but if they're not responding to that, then I'm gonna like try to drop it past them and see if they'll go to bottom with it. But some days they will, some days they won't. Like, it's just like spring for me is like it's definitely like a don't get in. Like, you can't feel comfortable doing one thing. You gotta really like be willing to adapt, like day by day, hour by hour, like all the whole time. Like,
that's it. I mean, every day progresses with coming into spawn or going out of spawn. So every day is different, no doubt. And then I think your weather patterns change, so your temperature changes, which changes your cadence. And then probably the biggest kicker for us, we're so tied to low light periods, so your fish are just up and down in the column. So every day, especially in post spawn, you have a progression of more activity, but yet you have warmer water, so that changes things. And then you have your light conditions. So it's like every day on the water, you have three things that are changing. It's just doing your best to keep up with it, for sure.
Right. Like, I don't think like spring fishing for me, like, is just like, just trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together day in and day out, like, and recognizing when it changes, like, and recognizing that in the spring, like, little changes are a big thing. Like, I mean, like, a degree of water temperature in April is huge. Like people don't talk about that. Like, your difference between 39 and 40 degree water is like, that's a huge difference. Like, that's probably the one thing that I like focus on the most in spring is just warm water. Like, I'm trying to find that warm water pocket. I'm trying to find that like zone where it's just a degree or two. If I can get 3 or 4 or 5 degrees, like, I'll take it. But like a degree, if you're sitting in the whole shoreline that you're fishing down is 39, and you've got one little tiny point or tip of something that's got 40 on it, like it's game. That's like where all the fish on the shoreline are going.
I mean, that's it. I'll jump on the boat and I'll rip around the lake, and guides all laugh at me, or people on a guide trip, I should say, because they're like, "What are we doing?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm just checking temperature." They're like, "Well, take us where you went last night. You crushed them last night." I'm like, "Well, dude, the wind's been blowing, the sun's different deal." So like, I literally will do a loop, and they're like, "I'm like, I know where I think I'm going to be, but it'll blow my mind. 1 in 3 nights, 1 in 5 nights, guide, and all of a sudden I'll be doing a loop around the lake, and they're like, I'm like, oh, we're stopping here. Like, this is where you've been. I'm like, I haven't been here all year. I'm like, but this is 3 degrees warmer, and I guarantee this is where they're at. And you catch those
and
fish.
your lakes probably change even quicker because they are smaller.
That's
like
it.
Our big bodies of water take a little bit longer to change. Like it won't change overnight. I mean, and if it does, it's going to slide 500 yards or half mile or something. Like it doesn't move like drastic distances. But in a small body of water,
it'll be side to side. It's crazy.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went to McConaughey in Nebraska, we saw that, where it was like we kept getting these switching winds where it was like we'd get a north wind one day and a south wind, and that lake kind of, it's a reservoir, but kind of runs like an east-west, and it's, so wide. And it was like, it'd be 50 degrees on the one shoreline and 70 on the other, and you flip the wind, and in 3 hours it was like, you're just like, oh my God, how these fish even tolerate
and that's like the my daily life, you know what I mean? And you just have to have that mindset to abandon a bite and go find the next one.
Which I think that like for a tournament angler, that's really important. You got to have a short-term mindset with tournament fishing.
And to be able to adapt. For sure. All right, last question I'm going to ask you. I should say I have 2 more, but with the jerkbait, we get so many questions online. It's crazy. Everybody talks about fishing a jerkbait. Very few people. We talk about the rod. What line are you throwing on your jerkbait rod right now in spring?
So I'll vary it a little bit. So your line's going to change the depth that the bait dives to. So I'll put it on a spinning rod with like 15 or 20 pound braid. I run heavier braid than a lot of guys on my spinning setups, just because I'm typically targeting big walleyes all season long. Like I don't really. It's pretty rare to find 10 pound on one of my rods like for braid. So I run 20, like mainly my like base level lines, 20 pound main line Suffix 832. To like 8 to 15 pound leader. I kind of cater the leader weight just to water clarity. The clearer the water, I'll just go lighter. And then the dirtier the water, I go heavier. So that's like my spinning rod setup. And I'll use that if I'm trying to get like the maximum depth out of a bait. Now, if I'm throwing a jerkbait the way I want to throw a jerkbait, I'm throwing it on a bait casting rod. Now, early in the spring, that can be tough, especially if it's cold. Like you just fight lines up, like, and I hate that. But I'll throw it on a bait caster, like a 6'8" or 7 foot rod, fiberglass, designed for a jerkbait. And then I throw that usually on 12 pound straight fluorocarbon. And then I run for
that's what I was wondering. That's what I was hoping you'd kind of go.
Yeah, for all my fluoro, I run Sunline. I run Sunline FC Sniper. It's just, arguably the best. Fluorocarbon mainline out there, and I just run the FC Sniper. I use that for my mainline, and I use it for my leader material. Like I don't have a specific leader material. I just use that stuff because I usually have 10 spools of it laying around. So.
That's where I struggle so much because I love fishing a jerkbait on straight fluoro, but like guiding wise, we're not going to. I'm not giving a bait caster to the average guy. They struggle, and you when you throw that 10, 12 fluoro on a spinning rod, it's just a disaster. Castability, accuracy, everything. So it's like it's one of those
I think that's where that 20 pound braid kind of like bridges that gap a little bit because like everyone else throws 10 pound braid, right? But 10 pound braid is really thin. So you're getting like max depth out of 10 pound braid when you're casting. I think that 20, like I truly think that it makes a big difference for my like walleye jigging style, whether I'm pitching jerkbaits or ripping wraps or anything. I think that 20 pound braid just doesn't like. There's not as a direct line to my bait. I think on my 20 pound braid, I get a little bit of
better lift, almost an upward lift.
Every jig stroke I make, like especially with a light jig on that braid, like that braid is floating on 1/8 ounce jig. So like I think that's a like kind of like a under talked about like subject too is like how your line diameter and stuff like that affects your baits. Like And I kind of picked that up from Seth Fighter was fishing an event, I think on Mille Lacs or possibly Leech. Like, I don't even remember. This is like 6-8 years ago. And every single guy in that field was throwing a DT10 crankbait.
Yeah.
Everyone was throwing it on 12 pound.
Okay.
And Seth switched to 16.
Okay.
And so it's the exact same crank. They were all throwing the same color. Like, you can watch it on Bass Live. Like everyone's throwing the same color. And other guys are catching fish, right? But they're catching one every 20 casts.
Okay.
And Seth is literally hooking up on every other cast.
Yeah.
Like almost every cast. And sure, maybe the pot of fish he was on was just better. But he said, he was like, yeah, like I switched to 16 and this was pre-forward facing sonar.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm pretty sure it's just keeping that bait up like a foot higher than where everyone else's was. And that was triggering some sort of reaction that like it's just not doing the same thing as everyone else's bait. Like that, I think that's a big thing, especially on pressured waters. Like having like those little subtle differences is sometimes. I mean, you see it in the boat, right? During the day, like when your buddy is just stroking them and you can't keep up, and you're like, dude, like I'm using the same bait. Let me see your leader length. Okay, that's the same. Like, oh, what's different? It's like, oh, well, we're using a different rod. My action's just a little different than your action. I'm watching you. I'm doing the exact same cadence, and I can't get it to to go. Like
that's great. I filmed a TV show with Jarrett Edwards. He's a bass guy, right? Hardcore at the highest level of bass, and he did a TV show, so we'd film a lot of Western stuff together. And same thing, he approach most situations with that bass mentality, right? Heavier line, heavier rod, and some days it would kill him for the negative. I would just smoke him, but it was all the presentation. But I can't tell you how many times, especially on the walleye reaction bait, throwing blade baits, throwing glide baits, that he beat me. And same thing, you know, he's running like 18 pound or 17 pound fluoro, or I mean, just running heavy gear, and I'm like, that is not going to work. And same thing, he was getting just a little different lift, and that approach, you know, caught him more fich. So there can be a lot to it.
That a lot. Like I used to outfish my buddies. So so when I'm fishing jig wraps and stuff like that, I throw a jig wrap a lot of times on a bait caster too with 14 pound fluoro, and I think that gives me again like more of a curvature into the water. Like my line's laying more flat across the top, and then that bait's popping more vertically. And some days when we used to, this was back when we were blind fishing, before we had forward facing sonar, like I would consistently outfish my buddies, and like they all thought it, like we all would argue all the time. They thought it was just the rod, but I think it was, you know, both. Like it's the line and the rod in combination. Like I was just getting this more upward and taller, aggressive hop, whereas those guys, when they were hopping with their spinning rods on braid to fluoro leader, were getting more of like a darting across the bottom look, where, you know what I mean? So it's like you're using the same bait, but you're
totally different approach,
totally different cadences out of it. Like, and you know, with what we know now, I kind of know more about why. Like since we've had forward facing sonar, I've learned that like on Green Bay, even our bottom oriented fish are usually almost always sitting at least a foot or two up. So what I learned from that was okay, well, back then, like I was hopping my bait higher,
right into the strike zone,
and more fish were seeing it. Whereas these guys are hopping it lower, and just, you know, only the fish that were a foot up were seeing it. Whereas I'm hopping it 3 feet high, they're hopping it 3 feet forward. Like, they're just not like you know, a walleye. If you look at them, their eyes are on top of their head. Like they're not looking down. Like.
No, I agree. That makes sense. All right, final question of the podcast: are you superstitious?
A little bit.
And to what level?
I, like just stupid, like quirky levels. Like I mean, not like I'm not like weird about anything, but like I got like more so like I have jokes that I've turned into superstitions. Like so, like I don't even remember 5 or I don't even know. It's got to be 10 years now. God, it's crazy thinking back on some of these stories. Like I'm starting to get the 10, 15 year stories. Like, and I never thought that would happen, but
you're getting old.
I'm getting older. It's crazy. I'm not the youngest kid on tour anymore. For a while, it was like, you know, you're one of the young guys.
Oh, for sure.
There's a bunch of these youngsters coming up, but so I got one that's pretty, like, I'm pretty hardcore with. And so my buddy and I were fishing together, and he caught a horseshoe while we were fishing. So that has never left my boat.
Yep.
That stays in the boat. And then I got kind of a joke of one. Is we had one night where we were out at the local establishment bar, so to speak, pre-tournament, and they had one of those like rubber ducky machines.
Yep.
And my buddy started like messing with it, and it was kind of wild. It got out of hand a little bit, but he ended up with like a bunch of these little rubber pigs.
Yeah.
So now I threw one of those in my live well, because my theory to start the day is you got to have a pig in your live well before you take off.
So you're superstitious, absolutely. We got horseshoes and rubber pigs.
Yeah, like, I mean, just jokes. Like, I mean, it's more so like if I lost that stuff, would I be crying? No, like, I wouldn't care. Like, but
after a terrible finish, you'd be getting it back.
Yeah, you're not wrong. The thing I've been more superstitious about than anything over the years is actually like my beard. Like, where like I'll run a beard if I'm catching fish and I'm doing well, like I'll keep it, and then like if I totally bomb a tournament, then I'll shave it and start fresh.
Yeah.
Just gotta like clean everything up a little bit. So yeah, I'm a little stitious. Like,
I love it.
I wouldn't say super. I'm a little stitious.
Okay.
Like,
I like it. Nope. I think we all have those same things, and it's so funny. You have that, and I think sometimes it's just patterns that you fall in, but then you're like, well, I can't change it up. You know what I mean? So I think everybody falls into it a little bit. Some are over the top. I mean, I remember way back in the day, I was sitting next to Pat Cavins, and again, this is super old school, and he was going up the Detroit River flipping like 50-cent pieces into the water, and I mean, he had a roll, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, it's good luck. And I didn't even know the guy. I'm really just watching him like flick money into the Detroit. And I'm like, holy cow, that guy's he's a disaster when it comes to it, So you just see all kinds of different things. So awesome, man. Well, what was that?
I was gonna say, my one that I would say that I'm most superstitious about, like, would be just being relaxed.
Yep.
Like, I gotta be relaxed. Like, if I'm not relaxed, if I got the anxiety running, I'm the disaster waiting to happen. Like, it's gonna be a bad event. Like, dude. But if I roll up to the launch in the morning, tunes blaring, not a care in the world, watch out, because I'm going to try to crush them.
I mean, that's just it. It's one of those questions I didn't ask it. It's a whole podcast, but you and I are the same on the mental capacity. If you're confident, you win. If you lose that confidence, it's the biggest thing. And that's where, listening to music, a reset, right? Halfway through the day where you're like, stop. We just need 5 minutes. Go get fueled, whatever. Reset the baits, but the mental capacity is a big part of it, and that's where you and I, just from listening to past stories, things like that, we're the same. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm doing a seminar, so I got seminars this weekend at the Wisconsin Fishing Expo, and then people won't even hear that. But I was trying to advertise for them, but whatever. But I do a seminar series right now that I've been doing for a bunch of the high school kids, actually, and I'm going to be doing it at a couple of these expos coming up here over the next couple of weeks. But it's called Mentally Fishing, and it's all about like the decision-making processes and, just the more thought process oriented stuff that we as like tournament anglers go through. Because that's talked about in this industry as well, like when to make decisions, when not, when do you stay, when do you go, like that
big part of it.
That's tough stuff. So it's been a pleasure, talking with you here today.
I appreciate it.
So
absolutely, man. This is an inside look to Isaac Lakich, and I tell you what, man, we could go on again. We're gonna have you on again in the future because I have a handful of questions that we didn't ask. So we'll get you on here again, man. What real quick, people want more insight into your life, into your career. Where do people follow you?
Yeah, so IsaacLakichFishing.com is my website. That's going to be for anyone looking to have a book a guide trip, anything like that. I have some like base level stuff on there with some informational stuff. So a lot of my products and sponsors that I'm sponsored by are on there, so you can go on there and look through all that kind of stuff. And if you're interested in any of that stuff and why I'm using the products I'm using. And then online, social media wise, it's just Isaac Lakich Fishing for either Facebook or Instagram. I got some stuff in the works for maybe some videography stuff going down the road, but that's kind of TBD. So yeah, no, Isaac Lakich Fishing, pretty much anywhere. I mean, you type that in online, you're going to find me. I'm about the only one with that name. So.
Perfect, man. Man, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being on today.
Yeah,
Awesome.
absolutely. It was a blast.
Awesome. So again, you are watching all of this on the Source Podcast, officially brought to you by Jiffy Ice Fishing. Again, I'm your host, Nate Zielinski. Thank you so much. Again, we had a great conversation with Isaac, and we have a lot more conversations coming up. We'll see you soon.